I'm trying new webcam software and it is buggy as fuck. I don't know why that is. They advertise a new software as basically an enhancement of your video capabilities with your webcam, but yeah, it doesn't look like an enhancement to me, and the audio was just really bad. But they kind of forced you to upgrade, like they with this splashy advertising and everything, and the new software is very functional and there's lots of features. And anyway, I don't know what they're trying to force out of you. I guess maybe buy a new webcam. I guess something like that. I don't know. Anyway, today's topic is functional atheism. It was an article I just read on Richard Dawkins' Facebook feed, though the original article is from Patheos. So they mentioned a couple things. They mentioned basically functional atheism as being not so much something that people look into or try to conceptualize, but just the kind of natural inclination to not believe in certain things. And one example they gave was basically people not believing that God is always watching you. And I'm going to start splitting hairs here. So stick with me. I might be making sense. I might not be making sense. But I feel as if in the mind of a believer, because I used to be one of them, there's a way that you can believe that God is always watching you, but in the substance of your daily goings on and your train of thought, you don't believe that God is always watching you. And I mean, they did say that people, when they were talking about functional atheism, they were saying that there's a certain amount of volition or purposefulness in people not believing in these things, and they kind of cited the nuns as an example of functional atheism. I think that's what they mentioned. Hold on. Yeah, they kind of implied that the nuns are basically functional atheists. And I can see where the volition starts kind of getting really blurry. So the kind of the amount of purposefulness that you kind of put into your atheism kind of matters, right? You could get into categories of atheism, like say militant atheism, or just like as mentioned, the nuns who aren't so active. They just don't really consider themselves believers. But I gotta say that on either level, I don't know where the functional atheism really resides as a definition, because you can have this kind of, like I mentioned, this duality in your brain about in your thought process about what you believe and what you don't believe. Although they did mention that a lot of this stuff is lip service to religions. Officials of the church pump this stuff out. The dogma is there, the canons are there, and the scripture is there. So there's a certain repetitive nature and traditional nature to these teachings of religion that kind of set up shop in your head. But in terms of the functional atheism, I think it's kind of also related to the idea that we're all born atheists. So I think there's something in our kind of natal or our natalist kind of I wouldn't say natalist, but our something in the way our biology is made that kind of gives credence to this atheism that seems to kind of stick around in your head even as you grow up and you get indoctrinated and things like that. And that again comes back to the example of not believing some of the core tenets of what God is supposed to be in the major religions, and maybe not Buddhism so much, but in the big ones. God being omniscient and omnipotent and things like that, which I've mentioned in previous videos as being that the word itself is flawed. It's a paradox. It's a logical. It's a paradox. Like nothing. Omnipotence doesn't make sense. So I mean, I think in our brains, going past a little bit what they mentioned in the Patheos article about functional atheism, and it's posted on Spiralvent if you want to read it, talking about functional atheism, I think there's a certain natural atheism that exists inside of us, and anything else outside of that through indoctrination is kind of built up and kind of just infests your head a little bit. I don't want to use dirty words because we all know religion is somewhat inherent. But I think there's also another side to the whole religious stuff that is kind of atheistic. I think atheism is in your head naturally. Um, but, religion does still make its appearance throughout the ages. It has, so we're not saying it's a bad thing. No, we are saying it's a bad thing. What we're saying, though, is that it's not unnatural that religion be there. And, but I'm not sure at what level it exists. We're very closely tied to our languages, and I think maybe language itself is probably some kind of scaffolding for religion. Yeah, I don't want to go on about this. I'm mainly just testing out my new webcam software, and I think it's gonna work. I just have to start recording at lower res. And you know what? To be honest, I don't think anybody's watching this stuff in full HD. So it's I don't think anybody's gonna be deprived. Anyway, that's all. Bye.